We are seeing unprecedented protests in China over the past weekend over China's zero COVID policy, which has been reinforced to even stricter levels after recent incidents and determinations made by their president Xi Jinping and other health agencies, governmental bodies, and it's been the first time in a very long time that the Chinese people are coming out in mass demonstrations against their government and the decisions made by them in relation to the policies that are affecting them every day. Many people calling on Xi to resign over his continued enforcement of these zero COVID policy policies that are very much restrict the freedoms and abilities of people in the country to move around under the guise of preventing COVID. And where we have gotten an international reaction from the White House, the White House coming out with what we expected them to say, saying generally that they support the right to peaceful protest internationally. This is the typical White House response when some of these incidents happen in other countries that are authoritarian and the people start to protest peacefully in mass against their government. The White House will often come out and say we support the right to peacefully protest, and they'll give like a soft critique of the policy, but it won't be anything like major in order to not make anyone angry, but still showing their commitment to the freedom of speech around the world. The White House going on to say that zero COVID policy doesn't really make much sense from a medical standpoint. That we will not be pursuing that here. That is completely out of question now after COVID had essentially evaporated from the way we think about society today. There are of course still hundreds of people dying per day, and that medical reality can't be denied. But it's been almost 3 years now, and we're kind of just moving on from it. New vaccines and stuff, and less severe variants. We are at a place where COVID doesn't really affect us from a policy standpoint. But China is continuing to try to enforce their oppressive policies on their people. The White House making a reasonable statement saying that these policies don't really make too much sense and showing their support for the protesters. So we'll see what happens if if what China's going to do about this. We've already seen some arrests and some dispersion tactics by the police force and military in the country. We'll see how much that escalates and whether the protests turn violent, but certainly a significant event in international news. It's very rare to see the people of China rising up against their communist and authoritarian government that has been implementing these oppressive policies over them for a very long time.